Welcome to this episode number 7 of the racing car game by Ozzy. Today we see more enhancements to the racing game, and we also see some other stuff which is part of, game development, let's say that. With me, as always, I have the owner or the developer of the game, Ozzy. Welcome, Ozzy, to the stream.
Thank you. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonsoir,
Bonsoir,
actually.
yes. Bonsoir.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I have French colleagues. I'm starting to learn French.
Aha, okay. For Italians, it's easy to learn French.
I really doubt it. For me, it's
I
harder
think it's
than ever.
easy. Hello, JJ Ballon. Good evening. As always, all I ask is to subscribe and like my YouTube videos. It's the only way I know of sharing, making others aware of the community of the Amiga and learning Amiga and learning how to code for the Amiga. I remind you that under each video there are links to the code. Okay, like in this case, Ozzy also has it on his website, but in my case it is grouped per episode. So in the way Ozzy is, it's not. It's per how he developed it. No, you can go back because he's using GitHub. Besides that, I remind you, I have the Phase 101 page. Please follow, like the page, so that we make Facebook happy. And join the Phase 101 Facebook group and the Commodore Dev Facebook group. I will be revamping these three in a while. If you send me a message on Facebook, I do read them. Today I have none, thank God. Sometimes I do miss. I need to be streaming to see that there was a message. But if you want a quick reply, just join Discord, and normally I reply quickly. Also, all the links are in the upper right hand corner of the stream. They are always there. I also have Telegram for those that do not like, Facebook or Discord, if you want to join there. If you want to go the extra mile, you can support us on Patreon, and there are right now 101. I didn't plan this. It's been for some time now. 101 posts to unlock or videos. But the same thing is on Coffee. There's no difference between them. Last thing, I remind you, I have this page that you can access, and there are links for beginners, basically, for learning. If you type book page, it should give you the link, for learning 68K assembly. Where do we go? So, and it didn't show up. There you go. It showed up. Today, Ozzy is going to talk about the, let's say, issues probably that he found in his game and how he solved them, and other things that he did to solve bugs, and also tools that he used that will help you in doing better, let's say, coding. One thing that I wanted to ask Ozzy before he starts, you use FSUAE, no? You don't use WinUAE. Okay.
Exactly right.
I will come to this topic later on. But yes, I just wanted to confirm that my suspicion that you are using FSUAE. Okay, so Ozzy, you can start, or shall we show the game first?
I don't know. I think I could just, as usual, just read the changelog, which is
Okay,
on,
and then yes, okay, yes, let's
and
do that.
then yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
let's do that. So
and
yeah,
just a little prefaction.
mm-hmm.
I would advertise you to take some coffee because tonight I have to catch up because I was missing for the last 2 weeks. I apologize in advance, but I was really stuck, and I have 19 slides. If you are sleeping at a certain point, just tell me. I will just break. But anyway, this episode is about my two worst enemies, which are the Amiga OS, in particular the DOS.library, which is a library, of course, which is embedded inside the Amiga OS. And the other is the action replay, and I will just talk briefly about my experience with action replay, and I will explain everything and why I had to use the action replay later. So please go to the changelog so I can just describe what I did last 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And and I think I just gave a hint last stream, and my main object was to get rid as much as possible of ink beans. For example, the raw data that describes the image in the game is ink binned. It means just the VASM or the dev pack just takes the raw data and stores the binary file into the executable.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this because I want the assets to be in a separate folder. I want the user, so the player, to change the asset whenever it's possible. And above all, I can replace the ink beans with the simple dc.l, so some constant, which has just a long series of zeros. And this will help in the future the compressor a lot. I will use a shrinkler in order to compress data. Or you can use the ABSS section to have a smaller executable if you want. So it makes sense for me. Having a small executable, free some space in the disk, and have a directory with all the tracks that you can edit and create on your own. So this is the main goal. So point number one, all the track data now is loaded from disk, no more ink beans. The car starting position is now tied to track data. And this makes sense because the finish line changes according to your track. Maybe you have in your mind a track which and the finish line is in top right. Makes sense that the starting position of all cars is on the top right and not in the middle of nowhere. Then I added a new track, but I cheated because if you look closely, it's just the same image which is flipped horizontally and vertically. This is a feature that Deluxe Paint offer, and I just took advantage of it. But still, the current track, I really want to remove them because they are not mine. It's just a screenshot which was taken from archive.org. And I have a very talented artist, which is Z3K. So he's the winner of the Doug Compton contest. It's quite famous. So he sent me some graphics yesterday. I hope he will send me some new tracks so I can replace all these assets. Track selection has been implemented, so you add, before starting the game, you can pick the track that you want. Track selection menu entry implemented. This is just a consequence because you need some menu in order to select your track. And also there is last addition. It's a first draft of a documentation. The Amiga has this very strange markup language, which is similar to HTML, but it's not. It's called Amiga Guide format. And usually you can see it because some software packs in the zip file .info, I think, file. You can double click and there is some sort of very basic browser that lets you browse to the content. I wanted to do something similar, so I found on AmiNet this software which is called Edley, and I started just releasing a first draft because I want also to include the instructions, how to play, how to write tracks, how to do this and that. So I think this is useful.
Just to say something about the Amiga Guide, actually, it's a very nice feature of the OS, the Amiga Guide. Something that at the time Windows didn't, remember when Windows Help? I mean, when you got some software and you had a help file, it was in some strange format, but the Amiga one was all text. It was a nice feature. I mean, this is before HTML, what we are talking about, but it's very similar. It has similar syntax to the HTML, funny enough.
Yes, actually, you don't need any special software in order to
yes,
do
exactly, because it's text.
this stuff.
While
It's just text.
Yeah, while the one of Windows wasn't text. You needed to convert it to a special format. I forgot, but it's a very, very cool thing of the. And funny enough, I found the tool to write Amiga Guide guides for PC. I have it installed on my PC. So
and it's for Windows.
It's for Windows. Yeah, it's for Windows.
Come on.
It's for Windows. I don't know if there is a version for Linux. Actually, it's because it's written in C, so it could be.
We can port it.
Yeah, but yes, I do have it on my PC, on this machine installed, the Amiga Guide for Windows. It's quite a handy tool to have, so that, and I tell you why I have it. You can read the Amiga guides from your PC. This is the cool thing about it. So because the directory is a shared directory, I do not need to each time fire up the Amiga to see the Amiga guides. So basically, I use this tool to read the guides. For example, the one of the assembler. It's a common one that I run. But yeah. Anyway.
As usual, I took the hardest approach. I booted my Amiga and I used Edley, which is an Amiga OS program.
Yeah, it is called AGW Viewer, and the one that I have here is version 1.39.
agviewer.com. No,
AGW Viewer. AGW Viewer. You'll find it on Aminet.
Okay.
Also.
Okay, I will look into that later. Maybe there is a Linux version.
Yeah, I think there is.
Like that.
Anyway, it's a cool thing.
Just one thing, maybe someone is interested. There is also a very good magazine which is distributed in this particular format. The name is What If?
Yes, there's actually this is a good one. I didn't know about it only about a month ago. I got to know about it, and thanks, Ozzy mentioned it, but somebody else mentioned it on my Discord, and it's a very good one.
Yeah, wait a second because I'm getting the advertisement on Twitch, so I can't see the screen anymore.
Oh, this is forced on me. I mean, I cannot.
Oh, okay, now I resume the screen.
It will happen, yeah, because it's forcing it.
Yeah, of course. We need the ads.
Yeah.
So okay, at this point, I think we are ready just to show if
game.
it works, because I
Works.
tested my code on a lot of different
works.
Amigas and should work everywhere, but still I know the Amiga, and
Yeah, no,
making
it works.
something working on every type of Amiga, it's very hard.
You see it? It's there. Let me get the joystick. So
actually, I don't see your emulator on Twitch.
You don't see my emulator.
I just see the PDF. Maybe I'm too far behind the stream. Are you sure? Okay, now I see it.
You see it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
There should be a new option, which
Yes.
is next to track 1.
So my only thing is I need to click on the Amiga and get it away. Oops. What happened there? There you go. Okay.
I think I'm too far behind the stream. Let me reload. Yes, right now I'm very behind. Okay.
You're having too much lag. I know in UK there were some problems with Virgin Media today. So also I don't know if in UK they have lag because of if they are on Virgin Media.
Okay, now it's working. The lag started right after the interruption for the ads.
Oh, well. Yeah. Anyway, this is the option to for the next track release, right?
Do you have the
reverse? Track 1
have
reverse.
Yeah, it's up to you. Are you loading this from floppy or from hard drive? Floppy. Maybe you can just emulate the sound of the floppy drive in order to demonstrate that I'm really loading the track from the floppy.
Yeah, I need to switch it on. Okay, give me a second. I can switch it on. Because that's one thing that I always have disabled. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling this because the files representing the track are pretty big, so it takes some time to load them into memory. And when this happens, it seems that the program is stuck, and it's not stuck; it's actually reading. But I can tell it's reading because I hear the clack, clack, clack from the floppy drive.
Yeah. So, press the button. There you go. Boom. The floppy is fast, eh? I have the floppy working in fast mode.
Okay.
So it loads very fast because the floppy is in turbo mode. But you heard the sound.
Okay, but the cool thing is that the loading should work from hard drive.
Yeah. I tested it
from floppy drive.
Yes, I tested it from hard drive. I'm running the floppy one because I think it's cool, the floppy one, that's all. Yeah. Hello, Pellicus. Hello, Dario. You changed your Twitch name. So
is he undercover?
Yeah, he's undercover. We still know it's Dario.
Maybe it's not. Are you really sure it's him?
So, oops.
Notice that we have also a thumbnail, let's say, of the track. It's just a preview. And this is something that AProcessing does. There is a routine that I wrote that just strips all the odd bits. So for example, if you have a word and I just delete and shift every bit, so the final result is
a smaller picture.
A smaller picture. It's exactly half of the width and half of the height. And so I use it for scaling. And of course, it just works, just halving the figure each time. But I did this because I didn't want to add extra stuff on the TRK file because it's so big. It's 100 bytes. So it's 100 kilobytes. No, it's 100 kilobytes, not bytes actually. So it's pretty big, and this is why I'm planning. Maybe I can just put the game into different disks. One disk is just for the program, and the second one is for the tracks. This is a possibility. For now, I have plenty of space on my floppy disk, but of course, if you keep adding tracks, you will run out pretty fast. So this is something to take into consideration.
I'm going to switch on this sound off because normally it doesn't let us talk. The sound of the car. Shall I leave the cars as they are?
I'm too behind on the stream, so I don't know what you are really doing right now.
No. I ask you if I should leave the cars as they are or should I switch them off. That's what I was saying.
Oh, it's up to you. Do what you like. It's different. It's not important for me.
Okay, so let's leave them there. Let's leave them there and let's start.
Yes.
And you can see that the track is the opposite way, flipped basically. And now, because I'm not used to this track, I will even have more difficulty to drive.
Come on, it's the same. It's the same exact track.
Yeah, but it's more manageable, eh? That has improved since last time. It's more manageable.
The gameplay should be the same. I just changed how the tracks are loaded into memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ice section is always the worst.
Yeah. No, but it's much more manageable than before. Before I was not even able to do this. Oops. Now this is hard because when I left the 4 cars there, you will be bumping into them and you never pass basically. You see? So yeah, like that, so that you make some space for you to pass.
They are supposed to race the other cars, actually.
Yeah. Now we made it. There you go. So that was one lap.
It's just one lap because I hard-coded the value 1 into my code. One possibility is to add the number of the laps into the TRK data, which is so all packed into one single file. This is another possibility. For
Hello,
now,
Dockster, by the way.
For now, the idea is just to keep one track race.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked you if you're using FSUIE or WinUAE is because you had to use Action Replay.
I can use Action Replay, I think, also on FSUIE.
No. It's because you used but if you used WinUAE, it has a built-in debugger, which you do not have in FSUIE.
FSUIE has an excellent debugger. I use this for debugging usually.
As far as I know, the WinUAE is the latest version has got it. The update has got the debugger. Before it didn't have the debugger.
What I can tell you is that if I hit at the same time F12 and the button D,
Yeah.
the game, the FSUIE freezes, and I have in the terminal the debugger.
But it wasn't always that had added debugger. It's only recently that they added the debugger, no?
I think it's at least 1 year that I use it.
I don't know Dario if he knows because I'm not sure if he uses FSUAE or WinUAE. I mean, WinUAE has an excellent debugger, but FSUAE didn't have always a debugger. But I read that they have taken the debugger of WinUAE and implemented it in FSUAE, and this was recent last year. So that's why I asked you.
It sounds strange to me because the debugger should be embedded into UAE. It's not a particular feature of WinUAE. Probably William just took to the next level, but I think the basic debugger should be everywhere.
Dockster is saying, I have always gotten it to work with FS debugging, that is. So, Dockster, you use FSUAE, not WinUAE? I think it's only recent that had a recent good debugger. I'm trying, and this is why I wanted to ask you.
The word good, I don't know if it's good. Probably WinUAE is better, has more
WinUAE
feature.
always had a good debugger, for sure.
Yeah, but for what I need, actually, for me, FSUAE is more than enough. So
yeah, but what I meant, Dario, is that the FSUAE had a debugger, but wasn't so good, let's say that. And then what they did is they took the code of WinUAE or UAE, let's put it this way, and of the debugger and implement it in FSUAE. And this is only recent that happened. This is why I wanted to see if what changes you saw with the debugger. I mean, I don't use FSUAE, but just curious more than anything else. But yes, the base code is the same for both.
yes, it's UAE, the base code.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
The emulator.
Yeah, it's UAE. Is what was UAE for all, I think. Something like that it was before. But anyway.
Exactly.
So, shall we go to the slides?
Yeah, I will start with my slides, and we have to move actually just a bit because really we are late today.
Really?
Because you have to work. You worked until late hours.
Yeah, I was late. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. We are late by half an hour because I had to work late. But yeah.
Yeah. Money always then.
No, it's not money, it's America.
It's America.
So yeah.
So this is what I did for reading the tracks from a DOS disk. And as I said, my goal was to have something in a proper, in a standard file system. I want the user to navigate the disk in a friendly way. So it seems to me that using DOS was the way to go. And additionally, I had RamJam that explains how to do that. So I just pick it this way. So as I said, all tracks are stored inside the subdirectory or subdrawer. I don't know, because the Amiga jargon is directory is a drawer.
Yeah.
It's very strange, but this is what it is. Actually, when I went into the DOS and I saw directory for the first time, I said, come on, these are drawers. They are not directories. And now I'm
it's a way of saying in Workbench. No, they used to use the word drawer for Workbench because it's a workbench. So then you have drawers in the Workbench, no? So that's why they
makes sense.
Yeah, but actually in DOS it's a directory because you do dir, you don't do drawer. You know, you do dir directory list directly basically.
Yeah. Also in Amiga you can type dir.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
It lists drawers.
Yeah.
But okay. So each track is represented by a .trk file. This is what I was telling before. And this TRK file contains the raw image. So it's a bitplane image. It's what you see on the screen. the colors, the palette colors, the metadata that just instruct the program where you can walk, if there is ice, or if there is a finish line, all this stuff. And then we have the car starting positions. So where the car should be placed at the start of the race. And possibly I will add more information in the next version of the game. In this, the sub-drawer directory, only TRK files are allowed because my program doesn't check if it's a proper regular TRK file or not. It just tries to read the data at fixed offsets. So if you, for example, if you put an out of spec file, there is a great chance that you get a guru. So for this reason, the TRK files must stick to a very strict format. So the current implementation read the first file from the track directory. So the first time that you load the program goes into the track directory and fetches the first track and loads into memory without you doing nothing. Then you race, and when you finish the race, automatically there is a counter and the other track is loaded until they are all done, let's say. But I just added the menu that you used when you can just select which track do you want to race, and that's it. This is a problem that I have. So the last sentence of this slide, the order of the track is the same order of the files retrieved by DOS.library. So what I do is I have some sort of correspondence. For example, track 1 is the first file that DOS.library tells me it is. But the order changes, and I don't know why it changes. So it changes, it's not randomly. For example, on my if I load from floppy, for example, the track1.trk file comes first.
Doxter!
If I load...
Doxter, oh my god! Thank you, Doxter! Thank you for all the gift subs. I guess you have finished from this slide, but I wanted to add something because for those that are following me on Sunday, related to the 68K assembly programming that we are doing, there is something that we haven't yet arrived there, but DOS library is quite important. Not because it's DOS, because the DOS library of the Amiga had more things than one can imagine. Why I'm saying this? You will see from examples that, for example, that Doxter submitted to me, okay, for the series, okay, that we use the DOS library to print things to the screen.
Of course.
Yeah?
You are printing to SD out.
Yes, but these are features that the Amiga OS has built in, and they are built in into the Kickstart. Okay? You cannot do the same with DOS to a certain extent, okay? Don't get me wrong. But you need to boot DOS to have it, and then do certain things for DOS. While the Amiga, you need to load the command com, let's say that, in DOS to have those, okay? While in the Amiga, let's say, to explain myself clearer, is the command com is built in into the Kickstart. That's the big difference. So, because actually we haven't arrived there, old school coder, I'm just saying it because you're going to see the DOS library, and it's something that I wanted to point out, that the DOS library is not just used to read files, but it's also used to write to the screen, to the shell, basically. You can actually read right position in a way, depending if you use the escape characters or not, but yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to point out why the DOS library is not just for files, but it's also for having things displayed to the screen in the shell. So, next slide. All
No,
yours.
no. I just wanted to finish.
I thought you were
Just
finished.
telling
Sorry
one
then.
thing.
Sorry. I thought you were finished.
I just want to point out that I think that DOS.library is the most used library after exec, I think.
Yes.
It's very crucial, and the Amiga, I don't think, would be able to do anything without
There are
DOS.library.
3 libraries that are very important on the Amiga. Actually 4.
Yeah.
But 4 if you use Workbench. If you don't use Workbench, there is exec, DOS, and the GFX library. Those 3.
Yeah, and I know Pellicus doesn't use anything of that.
But if you use the OS, then you need the intuition.
Yes,
Those 4 are a must. But actually 3 are a must. Intuition is not, but you need those. But exec is the core of everything. Without exec, you don't do anything.
So I was just saying that maybe someone here knows the answer to my question. In order to retrieve the files inside that directory, there is a function or a routine, as you prefer, inside the DOS library, which is called xnext, I think, which stands, I think, for examine next.
Yes.
So every time you call this routine just gives you a data structure, and each time it gives you a different file because you are navigating the tree. So, but the order, it seems random. Well, okay, it's not definitely random, but what I see is that if I boot the game, for example, from floppy disk, the order is different if I load from hard drive. And so my assumption is that he's using timestamps or something like that in order to build a list. It's not by alphabet, it's not by anything, but there must be a logic. But I don't know.
As far as I know, it depends how they are stored on the disk.
How, in which track?
Yeah, something like that. That's how, I mean, I remember this. So how they are stored or tracked on the disk, something like that. And that's why it varies from floppy to hard disk also.
I try to retrieve this information because I have a book about DOS library, which is very well done. It's called the Bantam, I think, Bantam book. And
I have it. Wait.
Yeah, it's very popular.
Let me see. I should have it somewhere here. This one. Well, I have the cover, but it's this one, no?
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are different editions.
Yes.
I have the third one.
This is the
second
one.
Second.
Yeah, second one.
Yeah, I'm updated. I'm at the third revision.
No, I have the third one, but I located the second. I do have the third one.
But anyway, I tried to look into this book to find the answer, and when he discusses xnext, it doesn't say anything about the order. It just tells you how to use it, and that's it.
No, I got that information not from this book. There's another book, Total
Assembler?
Total something. I cannot remember the name. Total Assembler could be that either that or the computing compute. If I have it also, this one. Oh, this one. This one, yes, this one I think. because of the cover, because I protect them. I don't know if you can see it.
Yes, I don't have this. I really
This
hope
one.
that archive.org will help me
I mean,
in this
these
research.
were my original books. Those that are with yellow cover is my original books, what I had back in the days. This one, the Amiga.
Yeah, I think this is quite rare because I don't remember having seen that.
I got it from UK, so I don't know, but I got it from UK. That back in the days, you can tell it is old. That it was mine also, and somewhere you'll find also some notes of mine. But yeah, these two books. The books that are with yellow covers are what I had. Those that are behind me, the books that were with yellow covers. That means I own them. I had them back in the day because I always used to do yellow covers to them.
I see there is a question in the chat, and
What was
can I?
the book is? I'll show you the cover inside so that you can. Come on, this one. Oh, like that. This is the second edition. There's the third.
Yeah, maybe I will just research.
The cover is not the same one of this one. I think it's different. No, I can't remember. Anyway,
You are the expert.
yeah, I can't remember right now, but yeah.
But no, I was referring, I think, let me check, the user night shift. He asked, not that I had done that myself in assembler, but did you consider reading the file names and sorting them? And the answer is yes, but I didn't want to manage a dynamic list. So because I'm lazy and because I don't want to use allocmem or allocvec and use exec to do all this stuff, for me it was just an overcomplication and I was focusing on other areas. But yes, I could just cache at the beginning, at the startup, all the file names and do my own sorting. This is something that I will keep in mind, but sorting is not really something very fun to do. If I want to do,
yeah, sorry, continue. Just
yeah, it's doable, of course, but I think I should create a linked list, and the exec gives you ability also to create a linked list. But for me, it's an overcomplication. Just want read the first file, read the second, the third, and so on. This is my approach right now.
To answer Doctor's question, yeah, that's the right one. The link is of the book.
Okay, I think we are done with this slide.
Mm-hmm.
So we can proceed. Okay, this is how I built my TRK file. And so there are some rules to follow, and this is each offset. So the contents of the file, which are divided, so sorted into offset. The first part is the raw planar image, so 5-bit planes, and the image must be that resolution, and the palette must be 32 colors, so each color is a word. And then we have the track metadata, and then the car start position. Notice that even if I'm not using the car position from car 5 to 8, I decided to include this because I want in the future to try to add 8 car I know that probably it's a dream and it will never happen because the computational power of the Amiga is not so huge. But I will give a try for sure. And it will be very chaotic, I think, with 8 cards and checking collisions every time with one card with each other. So I think maybe I can do a special version for accelerated Amigas, because I really doubt that a stock Amiga can do this, or at least I can do this on a stock Amigas, which is quite different. Other things that could be implemented in future could be the data for the lap time records. This could be a nice feature. So we could just inject the best times and maybe make standings out of it. We can, as I already said, the number of laps could be added here, and the data for AI. So for the self-driving car, if you want to compete against the CPU, my idea is to record a lap. So put some points in the track, and I want the car to follow a specific path that is described by this new data. So this is just an idea for future implementation. Right now, I'm not planning to do this very soon, but still I'm considering to put all this data into this file. Okay, we can continue to the next slide, I think. Also, this is the hell. This is where literally I spent, I think, 2 weekends. And I got so many gurus and so many crashes and so many problems you can't imagine. And the problem is that I can't use .library because the OS is disabled. There is a chapter in the RamJam book which tells you how to do all this stuff. So at the end, I just reused the routines from the book, and they are fine with some, let's say, some adjustments from my side, but the concepts are, for me, are correct. What this routine does, it saves the current, these are registers which are crucial for the OS, which are Intena, the interrupt register, interrupt request to request an interrupt, and DMA con, which lets you manage the DMA. And of course, there are the twin registers, which are the read-only registers. So what this routine does, it just saves the content of this register in a particular location of the RAM. And then I disable all
Dario.
the
Sorry.
Bye, Dario.
Yeah.
Disable all the interrupts. And so there is the VBR, which is already calculated. The address of the VBR is always 0 on, let's say, old machines. But anyway, it's calculated in the startup.s by RamJam. So I just reuse this variable. And I re-enable the DMA and the blitter. And the blitter is very important because it seems that the Kickstart 1.3 uses the blitter to transfer data from the floppy. This is my understanding, because at the beginning, my code was working on Kickstart 2.x, but not on 1.x.
Yeah, you
I
are
tried
correct.
with 1.2 and 1.3. I saw that the floppy drive was stuck, waiting for something. So endlessly reading data, but doing nothing, actually.
Yeah, this is an important point, what you just mentioned. It's true, there is that difference. Kickstart 1.2 and 1.3 use the track this device, and that uses DMA.
Exactly. Whereas in newer Kickstarter, they changed something back in the days. So this is why, so in order to have this compatibility, I just followed what Ramjan says and just re-enable also the blitter.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to de-zone and re-own blitter as a consequence. So re-enable interrupts and DMA. So what we had before re-enabling the OS.
There are other things to it, if you don't mind me saying, is that there was the old file system and then there was the fast file. Yes. And there was the change also between the old file system to the in fact, the old file system was very slow because of the way it worked, and the fast file system was a lot faster. And so they had to modify things in the Kickstarter in the way it handles files. So anyway,
I also remember an interview to RJ Mikal that he said that the biggest regret on the Amiga for him was a decent file system. I think I remember this.
Yeah, but the thing is, at the time, the technology was not there even to make a better file system than what it had. I mean, it was still better than DOS, but yes, it then when DOS started improving, I mean, the Amiga was too late. But yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, these are the steps, and they are not listed all the steps here. If you want to know more about this subject, there is a particular lesson inside the Ramjan disk which addresses this stuff. And it's a little bit more complicated because Ramjan tried to play music while loading from the disk. So at the same time, so re-enable the OS and then reading the data from the disk and inject his own code in an interrupt in order to play the replay routine for the mod file. And I remember he uses, in order to achieve this, he uses self-modifying code in order to jump to the correct location.
It's the only time when you can use actually self-modifying code.
Wait a moment, because I have the ads. Okay. I must subscribe. Okay. So these are the steps that I followed, and it works more or less. I tested also on real Amigas, all this stuff, and right now you're reusing the Ramjan routines with my additions. It works. It seems fine. So we are in luck. Ramjan already did it for us. Good.
Yeah.
Go to the next slide, and we will see what I do.
Did I skip a slide? No.
I don't remember.
No, this is the right one.
Yes, this is the right one. Okay, this is what I was talking about before. And this is how, once we re-enable the OS, we can use DOS.library. And when I use it, in order to retrieve data from the file system, so I want to know which file are inside the drawer, there is this function which is lock. And the concept is lock. It's that you tell the OS, okay, I want to use this particular DOS object. This is why we use lock, and it returns a lock data structure. This lock data structure is then used to feed a second routine, which is examine. And examine fills a file info block structure. And the file info block structure just gives you information about the file. For example, where is the file, the block, what is the file name? Is it a directory or is it a regular file? Do you want to know the owner, the comments? So a lot of stuff. And I got this, I copied this from I think EAB, but you can also find this particular file info block structure on the header files of the NDK of the Amiga, which is the same. And this is just the data structure. I don't know if you use this, because RamGem doesn't use rs set and this particular syntax, but this is a syntax that is understood by DevPack and also is understood by what I use, the WASM assembler. And it just calculates the fields, the offset of a particular structure. It doesn't do anything else, just tells you.
You're defining a structure basically, and the size of each, let's say, field or whatever you want to call it. I just read your last sentence where it says you need to use unlock DOS object, but you didn't.
But it works.
It works. I can tell you why it works and why they recommended that. It's because if the file system change, of course, the Amiga is what it is now, so it's not going to change. But if the file, or at least so far, let's say that, I don't know, maybe somebody will decide to start making Amigas again. But they recommend to use the unlock DOS object so that if the file structure changes or the FIPS changes, you always get, they add more to it basically. You get the right size. That is all.
Okay, but I don't need only the size. I need also the offset. For example, fib file name, I want that must be at offset 8, for example. And if they change that, my program will crash.
So basically, it's going to unlock an object of the size fib. Okay? Now, fib, the length of it can change. Now, they can add more fields at the bottom of it. So you just get the right allocation. That's what they meant. So I think this was 40 bytes. Is it 40 bytes? I can't remember. Is it 40 bytes? The length of it?
Much more.
I
forgot file name is 108.
Yeah, I forgot, but yeah, it's because of that.
Actually, this is a possibility because the Amiga OS is still developed by Hyperion. They came up with a recent update on the OS. So, for example, if Hyperion, which is, as far as I know, the only entity in the world which is updating Amiga OS, if Hyperion decides to add something here, my program will crash. Maybe it's a problem, maybe not. I don't know. For now, I will just leave as it is.
You
but
can
feel
check,
free to.
You can check in the documentation of the 3.22 if it changed.
I don't have this documentation.
It's online.
Is it available publicly?
Yeah. Go on the Hyperion website. You can see it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't buy the ROMs, the documentation, you can still look at it.
Yeah, it would be the best way would be to buy the ROM and try with their OS.
Yeah, I do have it, but yeah. I don't have it here, but I have it in the UK, but yes, I do have it. So maybe I can try for you.
This is something to check. But anyway, if any of you wants to implement unlock DOS object, just submit a pull request. I will be more than happy to merge your code. Right now, I tested on multiple OS. I tested on 2.04, 1.3, 3.9, and it works. So until 3.9, it works. Newer OS, I don't know. I I don't have
What,
them.
on 4? It will not work on 4.
On 4, no, not.
It cannot work on
won't
4.
work.
It will not
On
work. 4 is different hardware, so only
Yes.
3.9 you can arrive.
Yeah, I have to port on PowerPC probably.
Yeah, so that's different.
But anyway, I just statically allocated some RAM into chip RAM. I don't know if chip is mandatory or not. Probably you can also allocate this on fast RAM, but I forced this on chip RAM, and it works just fine. Just examine and Xnext just returns me the correct data.
I'm sure Dockstar, you are using the same method, that it didn't change. This is a common thing, so yeah.
Okay, so let's go
Next slide,
to the next slide.
Yeah.
And this is just an overview of what I do in order to read the track data. I call Xnext, and then I check if libdir entry type is greater than 0, and this is something that is written in the Bantam manual. So I just applied what I read. Then I call the function open, and as you said before, you can open everything on the Amiga, not just a file. You can open, for example, cell, semicolon. You can open std out, stdr, I don't know.
Yeah.
But probably everything
Every device, you can open any device on the Amiga.
Yes, this is the universal way in order to communicate with devices.
This was cool on the Amiga back in the days.
So the open asks for a flag in order to know how to open a particular entity. And I use mod all file, which works just fine, and open for reading and writing, and it returns a file handler. This file handler is then later used in the routine, which is called read. You put the file handler in D1, where to write the address where you want the data to be written on in D2, and how many bytes you want in D3. So what I did in my code, I just call read for every section, and I give the address where the ink bins were before. Very, very simple, and this is quite trivial. After that you are done reading, you just close, and I assume that close frees the memory that you allocated before with open, so the file handler, and then you call unlock, and I assume that here unlock takes care of freeing the memory allocated by the lock function. I don't free it. I give for granted that close and unlock will do this for me, and I really hope that I'm right. Otherwise, I'm losing RAM every time I load a track. And on the bottom of the screen, there is just a diagram of what I understand how the DOS library works. So I have my game, the RC game, and I issue all these function calls to the OS, which are open, close, and etc. And the Amiga DOS just translates these calls into some atomic function which uses packets. So there is this concept of DOS packets that flow around the system, which are received by a particular handler process, which stays in memory. And the handler is responsible for communicating with the linked device. For example, it could be, on my case, it's trackdisk.device for reading from the floppy disk, or harddisk.device for reading from the hard drive, but it could be anything, actually. So this is just my understanding of what I read on the Bantam.
Yeah.
So feel free to correct me.
Yeah, to answer Dockstar's question, yes, I did finishing the editing of 6 yesterday. I will be uploading them, same with the series of Ozzy, but I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm doing all the videos uploading in one go, because once I upload, I need to go to Patreon to edit. I need to go to Coffee to edit. So I just want to edit everything in one go, instead of, if I do one file at a time, as I was doing before, it was taking me so much time, and now that time is gone. Because before I was not working and now I'm working. So yeah, but yes, the files will be uploaded. I haven't uploaded them to YouTube yet, but they will be, and they will be also on Patreon. But of course, only to Patreon will be available. But yes.
Yeah, good to know your workflow.
Sorry.
No, I was I was thinking that he said he got a job and
Yeah,
it's not.
I didn't have a job for a long
Yeah,
time, but yeah,
an employee.
I was unemployed. Yes.
Okay, so let's get back to our talk. This is boring stuff. Redisabling the OS. So we enable before in order to read data with DOS.library. Now we want to shut the OS off, shut it down because we want maximum performance. And as usual, this is a routine from RemGem, and it does the opposite of before. Just call forbid, disable on Blitter, disables the interrupt and DMA, restart the interrupts requested by the game. And this particular section was changed by me because if you remember, my game uses the keyboard, and the keyboard is handled by a particular subroutine that I put in the auto vector. And it's called every time that.
Yeah. Is it interrupt level 2? I forgot what
Is it interrupt level 2? Yes.
Because I forgot for a moment. Yeah.
So I don't have to restore the old. I don't have to clear exactly all the interrupts. I must reinstall my custom interrupt, because if I don't do this, I won't catch any key press or key releases. This is why I had to change this particular section, but it's just an instruction. And then I re-enable interrupts and DMA. And that's it, and it works. And now my problem. And I just want to talk about briefly about this problem, because this is something that if you program the Amiga, this is something it's quite rare, but you could encounter this problem. And my problem was the following. When I re-enable the OS, or when I re-disable the OS, the car was stuck. It wasn't moving at all. And this behavior was only on real hardware. The FSUI emulator worked just fine. And I didn't try the Mister actually, but FSUI was working fine. I have other Amigas, real Amigas. I tested on 3 of them. I have a Vampire Amiga, and the car was stuck in the Vampire. Then I tried on my stock Amiga with no modification whatsoever, and the car was not stuck. And then I also tried with on my 500 with an ACA accelerator, and the car was stuck. So it's not clearly an issue about the Vampire or the ACA. There is something which is completely wrong. The problem is I can't debug this problem on FSUI because the problem is not there. FSUI can't reproduce this problem. And so I didn't know what to do, because I don't know how to debug on a Vampire. I don't know how to debug on real hardware. And I don't know why the car is not moving, and only the car controlled by the joystick were not moving. The car controlled with the keyboard were moving as usual. So it's very strange. My first assumption is, okay, I called the OS, I said dos.library, read this data, maybe I went out of bounds and I'm corrupting some routine which is part of the joystick. This is my first assumption. I tried the old way, just commenting out part of code and see the reaction. And I didn't really find a suitable explanation of this. And at least I started using my last hope, which was an actual replay, because the actual replay works exactly for this problem, and it works, of course, on real hardware, because the Amiga 500 has this Zorro slot on the left when you can put an actual replay. So I put this actual replay and I found out where the problem was. And I wasn't corrupting the memory. The problem was potgor register. So if you recall from my past stream, I implemented a second button joystick. So the joystick with two buttons. Primary button is for accelerate, and the second button is for braking. If you press both buttons, what happens? That the engine detects that you are accelerating, so it adds velocity to the position vector. But if you brake at the same time, the same vector is subtracted. So it's like add 1 pixel per second and then subtract 1 pixel per second. The final result is 0. And this is why the car was not moving. And the problem is that the potgor register was on real hardware, was telling me that after that I switch on the OS and then I switch off the OS, the second button, which is bit number 14, was always 0. And 0 means that you are pressing button number 2, even if it's not true. So this was the problem. And as I said, this didn't happen on the emulator and didn't happen on my stock Amiga. And I really don't know why. What I remember is that there is this capacitor resistance circuit inside connected to the pin 9 of the DB9 connector of the Amiga. And I assume that maybe the emulation of the capacitor is not perfect from FSUIE. I don't know really, just throwing out ideas. But anyway, in order to solve this, I added to the ramgem routine a very simple command, which is move.w $cc00 into potgo. And then the twin register potgor started behaving as expected. So it seems that my assumption is that the OS is changing the value of potimp or potgo as you prefer, while it's on. And I don't know, maybe resetting this value after that you disable the OS again solves the problem. So this was just my experience. This is ramgem didn't talk about this, probably because it's a very case which is not often reproduced in games, maybe because the Amiga games usually doesn't use the second button. But yes, this is just something that I want to point out, and maybe some of you have further information about this. But anyway, this is my presentation about loading with OS disabled and re-enabled. The full source code is available, of course, freely for everyone. It's on GitHub, and this is the load_track.s is the full code. You can inspect this, watch this, and if you want to try what I was saying, just disable the resetting of pot.go, and you will find that probably you get your car stuck. And that's it. So this ends my first part of the presentation. Now I need some water.
So, guys, thank you very much. I'd like to thank Ozzy for his time. Excellent slides. I've seen all the slides. I immediately told him how good the slides were. It's really, really a good work.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll continue on Sunday with the episode number 7 of Docstars, teaching us assembly, 68K, and then we continue with this series on Tuesday next week. So have a lovely evening, or night, let's say that, and let's rate Bat Cat. Hopefully, well, you can always see it later on, no? Now you got used to doing this, but yeah, guys, really, and also Oscar Coder, I really would like to thank you also for the bot. Yeah, I'm very pleased with it. I'm just waiting for one addition, and you know which one. Anyway, guys, have a lovely evening. See you guys. Bye bye.